If you listen to American pundits and American leaders on national television, you're pretty much going to think that the Iranians are all but defeated, that they're just barely hanging on, and any day they're going to collapse, and we can just go in there and do whatever we want, and we're going to come out a big-time victor, and everything is good to go. But if you look at the actual fundamentals, you may come to a different conclusion, and that's what we always like to do here. And we think it's important to look at what is true on the ground. We're going to listen to what everybody says, and you're going to hear some of those claims here in just a bit. But we're going to see how do they stack up against what's actually happening on the ground, both on the Iranian side and on the American side. We also have with this, we're delighted to have back Matthew Ho, who is the Associate Director of the Eisenhower Media Network at EisenhowerMediaNetwork.org, a former State Department official, former combat Marine. Matt, always delighted to have you on the show.
Hi, Danny. Good to see you.
Well, listen, let's just start off right now because you just published a piece on your Substack. And you've been on some other television networks where you have a pretty bold statement here that you're saying that Iran is now a proven world power, not that they're weak knees and about to collapse. How do you make that statement?
Yeah, thanks, Danny. I think it addresses the point that you're talking about, the fundamentals here. The fact that the Iran is able to take on the American military and Israel in a war that all sides have wanted for decades and have come out not just surviving, but in control, forcing the Americans to create new objectives as the war went on in order to compensate or reacting to the realities of the war. It's most especially the control of the Straits of Hormuz by Iran. And no matter what the bluster, no matter what the headlines say, no matter what Donald Trump says about mine-sweeping operations, the reality is that the Iranians will control the Straits of Hormuz now and forever. There's no getting around that. But there's another aspect to it as well, is this idea that this is a war between the 20th century and the 21st century, and that this is a war between the American imperial order or the American century and the multipolar world. And so the estimation of what makes a world power, if you take it in the 20th century, guys, size of a military, nominal GDP, how many nuclear weapons a country possesses, etc. That's a measure that belongs in the past. You now have this reality that because of technology, because of dependencies, critical dependencies on resources, you have a country like Iran able to exert itself as a world power. I mean, I think by any basic definition of the word, even if you were to use an older 20th century view of that description of world power, you would still have to acknowledge that Iran is a world power because the effects it has had on the world. By that in and of itself, its ability to influence the world, its ability to now dictate to the world, its ability to have this amount of not just resilience, but impact on nations across the world, including the United States. It makes it one of the world powers. And I've seen others say that there are 4 world powers now: the United States, Russia, China, and Iran.
And that is going to just make a lot of people start twitching to even hear that, because no. Iran is a little guy. In fact, we've been kicking them around for decades. We've been talking about how we want to get rid of their nuclear program and all this for a long, long time. Benjamin Netanyahu, since literally 1986 is the longest video, or the oldest video I can find. And all the time since then, President Trump assassinated their version of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in 2020. Israel destroyed their embassy in, I think it was 2023, in Syria. They assassinated people in their capital city. We attacked them in 2025. And basically they had, some little reaction, but then they went back into their box, and we just said, we can keep kicking these guys anytime we want to. Now, all of a sudden, they're not getting back in their box. And I don't think that we figured out how to control them yet.
Right.
Kalalau Malak Yahweh. Wa Yahushai Bahashem Rachak Wadash. And double honors to the elders of GMS and Ruel. Blessings unto those men, and blessings and salutations to the Akim out there in truth, pushing this word in all sincerity and in honesty. With that being said, Shalom Israel, Brakta. Today's lesson: a formidable opponent. Now, the definition of formidable means inspiring fear or respect through being impressively large, powerful, intense, or capable, right? And when it comes to the Iranians, they have proven to be a powerful opponent unto the Americans and unto the Israeli state. Not only are they a formidable opponent, but a proven world power. And when it comes to the scriptures, they have prophesied that the Carmanians, aka the Iranians, aka the Persians, would come with great power. And when it comes to that great power and great show of strength, the U.S. intelligence says that Iran retains significant military power, including thousands of missiles and drones, contradicting DT's claims of victory. That's right. This U.S. intelligence report proves further that these biblical prophecies are faithful and true. The word of the Lord does not go back unto him void. It gets fulfilled. And are you not seeing those first steps of that great military power unfolding? And with great power shall they come, meaning that the worst is yet to come. With that being said, let's go over to 2 Esdras 15 and 30, which says the following. Here we have 2 Esdras 15 and 30. Also the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. Now the Carmanians are those wild boars of Iran. And when it comes to biblical prophecy, this scripture of 2 Esdras 15 and 30 has said that the Carmanians, aka the Iranians, aka the Persians, would come with great power. And are you not getting a taste of that military power of theirs in its first stages? Yes. Iran has been underestimated in thinking that they would be another Venezuela. And due to that underestimation, the U.S. now finds itself being bullied back. What goes around comes around. When it comes to the U.S., they have underestimated Iran's enormous arsenal. And when it comes to Iran's enormous arsenal of weapons, they make them at a cheaper price. So they are able to have more. But Iran has very sophisticated and accurate theater ballistic missiles with a range of 1,200 miles and tactical ballistic missiles, right, those TBMs. They also possess cruise missiles, unmanned systems, and drones. And this scripture of 2 Esdras 15 and 30 has said that the Carmanians shall go forth as the wild boars. And if you know something about wild boars, they are strong and aggressive. That's why this Google article goes on to say, but even with protection, hog hunting is a dangerous game. Wild boars are strong and aggressive, and they're not afraid to fight back. A single swipe of their tusks can cause deep lacerations, and they can easily overpower a dog if they get the chance. Right, the Iranians shall be in that mentality of wild hogs, and they have proven that they are not afraid to fight back. And with great power shall they come. The worst is yet to come. Now, when it comes to this American-Israeli versus Iran tension in the Strait of Hormuz, it's extremely high and it's escalating. The Russians have also delivered a humanitarian aid shipment of wheat to Iran via the Caspian Sea. Iran and Russia have also finalized a secret arms agreement valued at $500 million to significantly bolster Tehran's air defense capabilities. And do not forget about that key agreement of the Iranian-Russian cyber agreement. That's all online. Also remember what the scriptures have said about Russia. Russia shall be a guard unto them, according to Ezekiel 38:7. Right, due to that Russian-Iranian partnership, and due to that partnership, Moscow is now helping Iran fight the United States and Israel. Do you remember that help that the U.S. was providing Ukraine behind the scenes to fight against Russia? We all remember that. Well, now the Russians are doing the same thing back unto the U.S. by helping Iran to fight the Americans. What goes around comes around. And if Iran was to get attacked or invaded by the West, that will automatically draw out the Russians to war. Right, because Russia is now providing an unprecedented level of military aid and technical support to Iran. So any attack on Iran will definitely draw out the Russians to war. And when it comes to prophecy, the Russians will come against that modern-day virgin daughter of Babylon to destroy her. The scripture of Jeremiah 51:28 and 29 speaks of the Russians and what will happen unto modern-day Babylon. Modern-day Babylon the Great shall become desolate and without inhabitants. Babylon the Great speaks of America. So we are no longer living in the time of peace, but of war. And once they implement that CHIP of Revelation 13 and 16, that third world war cometh quickly. Even the allies of America shall betray modern-day Babylon the Great. Right, those 10 horns. The modern-day Assyrian is Edom, and the land of the Assyrians is referring to America. When it comes to Fortress Iran, the prophecy of let the weak say I am strong pertains to them. It also pertains to North Korea. They now possess nuclear capability. Here we have Joel 3 and 10. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Right. Now, when it comes to Iran, they claim that they do not have an arrow of mass destruction. But that could very well change. Let the weak say, I am strong pertains to those weaker and smaller nations that did not have nuclear capability at one point, but now find themselves in the possession of nuclear capability. Let the weak say, I am strong. But now those weaker and smaller nations are now confident in saying, I am strong, due to the fact that they now possess nuclear capability. And not only do they possess nuclear capability, but they are also backed up by other greater superpower nations, such as Russia, China. These smaller nations have gone from being simple farmers to being a formidable military opponent upon the battlefield. Right, because at one point, the people of Iran were growing plants like barley, peas, and lentils. And with great power shall they come. That's what we just read in 2 Esdras 15 and 30. But with that being said, Kalalam Malak Yahweh, Wa Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash, and double honors to the elders of Jemas Ruel. Blessings unto those men, and blessings and salutations to the Akim out there in truth, pushing his word in all sincerity and in honesty. With that being said, Shalom Israel, Brakta. Shalom.